Hi. Hello, everyone. We're really excited to have you here with us today. My name is Tamika Citrus Spruce, and I am a disability justice activist, uh, filmmaker, and I'm also have the privilege of being a consultant at the University of Michigan, Michigan Medicine as well. And I'm really happy to be here with my co-host Brandy. Uh, and so today is you going to hear a really in-depth conversation around reproductive justice and cervical cancer screening for uh, Black women with physical disabilities. So you're going to hear from great people like Dr. Kimberly Barrington, Tamika Jackson for Mother Justice, Christina Hayes for Mother Justice, Kianda Bailey for Center for Disability and Racial Justice, and Latavia, who is the Miss Wheelchair Michigan, Miss Wheelchair America, I'm sorry, 2026. So I'm going to give it to my co-host here, Dr. Brandy Bentley, to introduce herself and share some more information.
Thank you, Tamika, and welcome everyone. We're so excited for you all to join us. This is such an important conversation. And I think building off of what Tamika said, it's more than a conversation. We are very excited to have top leaders in the city and nationally join us to create a really sacred space to cultivate visibility, engage in some truth telling, and I think really honor collective care. At least in my work and background, it's not often that we're able to come together as a community and have conversations about reproductive health, disability justice, racial justice, and how all of these things are aligned and intertwining within our day-to-day lives. And so my background is a researcher. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Family Medicine at the University of Michigan. And I'm also a community-based doula here in my hometown of Detroit. So both my work and research are really focused on looking at ableism and racism and how those forces are working together to shape Black disabled communities' experiences in maternal health, reproductive health generally. And so I think these spaces are incredibly valuable for us to create space for a community to just be. Because we know that the intersection of reproductive justice, disability justice, and racial justice aren't individual lanes. Like they are very interconnected and demanding that we create spaces and conversations that shift our healthcare system into really seeing us, hearing us, and serving us with dignity and respect. So, whether you all are joining us as community members, advocates, healthcare providers, researchers, allies, I know I have some family members who logged on to join. We just really hope that this space allows us all to learn, reflect, and most importantly, imagine new solutions. So, we're excited for our generative conversation. And I'll pass it back to Tamika to get us started.
Yes, yes. So before I, just go into why we're here today, from my perspective, I first want to also thank our event partners. So our event partners are Miss Wheelchair America. Miss Wheelchair America is a national organization for women who use wheelchairs. So it's a national competition that bring women across the country to, talk about the needs of the disability community. And so the national competition happens usually in August. And so the current our current panelist Latavia is the new crowning of Miss Wheelchair America. Then we also have Mothering Justice. Mothering Justice is a organization based out of mostly from Detroit, but they do excellent work when it comes to reproductive health and maternal health for Black and Brown mothers. So it's a great organization. So I'd like to thank them. Also, Divas with Disabilities Project, which is a national organization as well, is a digital platform where women, across the world can come and build community and share their accomplishments and ask questions and things like that. So you can learn more about Divas with Disabilities Project. You can find them on Facebook, across all social media platforms. We also have University of Michigan, Michigan Medicine, and I also like to thank the Center for Racial and Disability Justice. It's a great center that really does a lot of awesome work around racial justice issues and disability justice issues as well. And the Divas in the City TV, where you see us now, is an extension, and it started from Divas with Disabilities Project, and I'm the executive producer, co-executive producer of Divas in the City. So it's a series that you can find on Divas in the City TV, YouTube, and Instagram, and you'll see wonderful Black women with disabilities who are taking their city by storm. And so, just right, again, we're here today because I am a woman with a physical disability, and I have two children as well. And so, I just really, went through some experiences with when it comes to access to healthcare, particularly women's health. Just one example of a thing that I had to go through, and I think many women have experienced this as well, and we'll probably get to in our conversation. But when I was 18 years old, when you become 18, you're supposed to start getting pap smears, and with having access to pap smears, you can see about cervical cancer, HPV, and all those things. So when I went to acquire by my primary physician at the time to have the pap smear, she actually told me, Tamika, you don't need that. I don't think you need that. And it's like, and I was like really shocked by her response. So I never, well, I have got it since a pap smear since then, just with, recently had my exam. But yeah, I went through many years without getting a pap smear because of that doctor's, um, negligence and her attitude towards me as a, young woman with a disability. So that's some of the things that we have to go through as doctors' attitudes. Sometimes, the exam tables may not be great. So there's a lot of barriers that exist, and to some women, it costs them their lives. If you're not able to get a pap smear, not able to have access to women's health exams and screenings and stuff, you can, possibly lose your life. And I'm sure some people have. When it comes to having children, that's another thing that is, a challenge that a lot of people with disabilities face, where doctors don't recommend you having children or questioning your right to have a child. I know I heard of one person say that when they were born, their parents gave them, the doctors, the ability to take out their ovaries, so they never could have children. So these are just some of the things that, people with disabilities, particularly when you add race to it, black women with disabilities have to go through. And so that's why we are here today to, build that empowerment, talk about the importance of having body autonomy and also having solutions. So I'm going to give it to Tamika Jackson from Mother Justice to share some of her thoughts.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm Tamika Jackson. I am the Reproductive Justice and Black Internal Health Organizer at Mothering Justice. And I organize because I have lived in the gaps most of my life. And for me, when I gave birth, a medical error and a lot of not listening turned what should have been a healing time into a fight. I was fighting for answers, fighting for time to recover, and like real basic support that should have been there, even inside the clinical setting when it came to my doctors. I was juggling PTSD, trying to find childcare. Um, I had challenges when it came to appointments that just weren't built for my life. And I wanted to name this because if getting care was hard for me, it's even harder for Black women with physical disabilities. Like we see clinics, like Tamika already said, without accessible exam tables, elevators that don't work. I mean, even as a mom pushing a baby in a stroller, especially if you had a traumatic uh, delivery and you have to do follow up a lot sooner. I was going to the doctor a week, 2 weeks after I had my baby in a car seat with a stroller, and the building's not having even the automatic doors. And I'm like, how is this possible? And I never even really thought about it until I was in so much pain and I'm tired and I'm trying to push this additional weight. Um, so it was like if the elevators don't work, and then there's the rides, like say if you can't drive your car or if you don't have a car, they don't a lot of times line up with the appointment times when you can have access to transportation. And then like providers make a lot of assumptions about our bodies, and I feel like that's why the mistake was made in the first place. But like with our sexuality or our pain, like it all kind of starts to stack up on us, and it pushes people out of care. It makes you not want to go seek the care. People are always like, take care of yourself, go to the doctor. Well, going to the doctor sometimes is extremely traumatic. Sometimes it makes you feel like I could have just stayed at home and read this, went on WebMD, because it would have been easier than the feeling that you get. Like I have left appointments and sat in my car and cried before just because of like the dismissiveness and just the apathy, and just it's not, this is not the care that we go to seek. And so like I feel like tonight us talking about this is really about like changing that. And like I know that at home cervical cancer screening isn't like the whole fix. I get it. But it shows that like the kind of solutions we need, when it comes to privacy, less travel, time that fits with our schedule, like that's reproductive justice. So like you said, having the right and the real support to have kids or not have kids or raise our families in like safe supportive communities. So our stories and our solutions belong in the same room. And I thank you for being here and for being honest about what's being worked on and what's not. And I am complete. Tamika and Brandy, thank you for holding this space.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Tamika, for your thoughts and really bring to light of what you see as, an advocate and an organizer and a mothering justice. So I'm gonna give it to Brandy. She's going to share a little bit based upon her research that she has seen.
Yeah, thank you both for sharing. I had a little snippet here to share, but you all have covered it expertly. Like you've already talked about it. So I'm just going to summarize so that we can get into the conversation. As Tamika have already shared, Black women are dying at higher rates from cervical cancer. And we know that this is grounded in a justice issue. Cervical cancer is one of the most preventable forms of cancer. But when we think about structural racism, medical bias, gaps in access. It's putting at us at a much higher risk. And as Tamika shared, you have that compounded with providers who make harmful assumptions, inaccessible clinics, and all of these other factors that are layered and convoluted to make things way more challenging than they should be. And so, as we think about solutions and opportunities for improvement, options like at home screening tools give us more confidence, more convenience, and more flexibility because now I can say I'm able to do this screening in a way that feels comfortable for me. I can engage a support person if that's necessary. I can do it on my own time. I don't have to worry about transportation. And so it can be an effective method for encouraging people to feel autonomous and empowered in their own healthcare decisions. And I think as we're talking about reproductive justice, for me, it's thinking about how I'm able to take care of my body while upholding my own choices and preferences, and leading my healthcare decisions in a way that works for me. Like, I think oftentimes we forget about patients being the experts of their lives, right? And knowing exactly what they need to survive and thrive, and providers coming in to assist that process. And so, as we engage in today's conversation, we're encouraging you all to keep a very wide lens of reproductive justice. And also, as we've already done, think beyond the clinic, think beyond the medical space, but also question the systems and all of the environments that we're embedded in and how they either support or create additional barriers. So yeah, I'm excited to jump in and learn more about the experience and expertise in the room. And so as we get started with the panel questions, the first opener question is, what does reproductive justice mean in your life and work? And I'm going to partner that with also asking you all to give us a little bit of information about your background and what brings you to this space. So as a recap, mini intro, and then telling us what reproductive justice means to you.
I can go. I can start. Hi, everyone. My name is Keonda Bailey. I am disabled. I am a proud fellow at the Center for Racial and Disability Justice. This year, I've been focusing on researching racism and ableism in reproductive justice and how that impacts obstetric care. So, in my work at the Center for Racial and Disability Justice, I explore reproductive justice through the perspectives of health, equity, and disability justice. I focus on how racism and ableism intersect to shape the health outcomes of disabled people of color, and particularly Black disabled women. When we look at the data, we see clear evidence of systemic neglect. Like, for example, Black women face a maternal mortality rate 3 times higher than white women, and for disabled women, it's even higher. So reproductive justice for me means like naming racism, ableism, and like misogyny and how they make care inaccessible, and just like working to dismantle these systems. It means like pushing for policies that expand access to quality care and maternity care deserts, and ensuring that Black and Brown disabled people are also centered in conversations on reproductive health. And so, like, ultimately, reproductive justice is a key part of health equity. It's about ensuring that every person, regardless of race, disability, or geography, has the resources, respect, and autonomy to make choices about their reproductive lives. So, I would say that's the vision that grounds my research and advocacy.
Ooh.
Thank you, Kianda. Would anyone like to go next, or is it helpful if I choose the next person?
I can go next. Christina here. I am a paid leave organizer with Mothering Justice Organization. I am also a lupus warrior. I've battled having a chronic illness since I was 19 years old, and I'm currently now 38. So it's been over 15 years of dealing with the chronic illness and being what I call the strong friend and always leading support groups, and then leaning into the work of policy change around paid leave for people with chronic illnesses. So, like when you just get to talking about the time that it takes to simply go to doctor appointments, a lot of folks don't have paid sick time at their jobs, or they're already struggling to find the time to squeeze in one or two appointments out of the year. And for people with disabilities or outside chronic illnesses, we're already booked with specialist appointments left and right. So then you add on, one, our appointments with the OBGYNs on top of these other specialists, like you're dealing with a nephrologist if you got kidney issues and all of the things. It's like, where are people finding this time, or how is it you're able to keep a job and still go to all your appointments and do this self-care that's so necessary, and then dealing with all the other mountain of things that you're facing just to go to appointments, like you all were stating, like, is it accessible for me? Do I have affordable childcare? We work on all these things at Mothering Justice, all the things that affects mamas the most, and being able to take the time off and have that paid leave to not even worry about the outside factors of being able to make it to your appointment is really where I feel like my purpose and passion lies, of making sure people have this paid time off to not have that stressor of having access to be able to go to appointments. Is where I feel like my expertise falls in this whole line of the angles of what you look at, what it takes to even be able to go to a doctor appointment. I'll pass it over maybe to Dr. Kimberly.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that intro. And I am the executive director of 100 Shades of Diverse Ability, where we improve the quality of life for persons with diverse abilities economically, legislatively, through community partnership and education. And so these pieces really make sense. So it's like, you're going to be a guest, you're going to be a guest, you're going to be a guest. My educational piece of 100 Shades is rolling on the road. It started in May of 2020, when the whole world was locked down. There was a no contact order. And I said, what happens to persons with disabilities? How are they supposed to know? How are they going to get information? And we need help. And who's going to be the voice? Well, I guess I'll do it. So created this show, and it aired like 3 times a week. When I tell you that I was surprised the number of people who agreed to come on. And it was really to talk about the intersectionality of disability and those who are able. Because I said, this now, all the able-bodied people, all those folks who are in love with their ableism, now you're just like I am. Now you can experience my world. And to be able to have persons come on and say, I understand now, I get it. We need to make some changes in the world. I know how y'all feel, because now I have to experience your life. And they did for what, 24 months, 36 months? And some people are still experiencing it and feeling dissed because they've been able to stay at home. Now they have to return back, into the crowd, in with the people, and start making some changes. Those people who were suffering with mental illnesses, depression, anxiety, now you're experiencing, now it's okay to be depressed. It's okay to have anxiety. Yep. Oh, we can make accommodation for that. If you need that extra time, that 15 minutes, or you need some accommodation with transportation because your PTSD, oh my gosh, because you just went through the pandemic. And now you have to re-enter the world and put some clothes on. And your body is saying, I can't put none on below the waist. But it's just amazing how Now the rest of the world understands what we go through every single day. I ran for office, I ran for state representative because there needed to be somebody that looked like me, that when you get ready to make decisions about me, that there's somebody at the table. So I was excited. Governor Snyder left $8 million, and you see my little air quotes, just having to find $8 million. Who just find $8 million? Just help me make that make some sense. But it was earmarked for a solution for transportation for the elderly, the disabled, and the veterans. Well, I guess that's me. I'm 60. Mm, I am disabled, and I am a veteran. And so when they said, hey, we need an expert to come and teach these folks about transportation and how you can get into your world, they were like, where's Dr. Barrington? Oh, she right here. She's right here. We gave out the first part of the grant before he left office because we knew, well, we ain't going to say why he did it, but let's just talk about if you have to drink water out of Flint. That's all I got to say. And the other $4.7 million that was still left on the table to be dispersed, well, Governor Whitmer had to disperse that money out. She was in office 15 days when we had to give out the money. I had never seen so many people, so many lights. We did it at Cobo Hall on a stage. They had every news outlet in America because the whole Flint piece was coming up as well. Like he found $8 million to give to this project, but couldn't fix the water issue. So it was a major issue to be on the stage and to talk about this grant money that was found. And the first question, I was so excited, went to the Center for Independent Living out of Lansing, Michigan. And they wanted to know, was this just a hoax? Are you guys trying to placate us? What does this mean about this money and transportation? And the governor, she sat like this, and she was like, well, and I did this. I said, Governor, I got you. I'm here. That's how you know that this is true. Y'all can see me. I'm in a wheelchair and all my purpleness. And never again will the state of Michigan make a decision about us, for us, without us being at the table. As a matter of fact, I don't even need your table. Just give me some room in the room and I can wheel in, and I have a table I can put on my wheelchair. The audience just went crazy. And I'm grateful because the governor backed that up by putting me on the Michigan Council for Rehabilitative Services at the state level, where I had the opportunity to write, IEPs and the plans for those persons and their families who are in the state of Michigan who have a disability. So she said, you said it, I'm gonna make sure that's true. And that's where she put me. And I had the honor of serving there until I left to go run for state representative. And the big piece when I ran was about reproductive health and about us having autonomy over our bodies. I was so grateful. I was endorsed by Planned Parenthood, and I had a plethora of conversations like this for them and what that meant, and to make that statement. It's one thing for us to have these conversations. It's another thing when you stand and you tell the whole world, this is where I stand, this is how I feel about it. And people choose to vote for you or give you money based off of where you stand. The stories that I received were my tissue. When women gave me their stories, and these women weren't even disabled, but for everyone to see, as I could share, I got permission on which stories could be shared when I would go out and campaign, to see all of the intersectionality of it. That it's not just, Black women, it's white women, Hispanic women, but it's us, the BIPOC community is affected more exponentially than any other community, but others are having the same experiences. And whew, thank you for letting me share.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. And we also want to welcome Latavia. Latavia, we just got started. We're just going around sharing introductions and answering what does reproductive justice mean to you. And I'll also acknowledge that we have more folks coming in. So welcome everyone who's watching live. Feel free to give shout outs and ask questions in the chat. I see we have a few chats coming in so we can see all of your comments. So hello, everyone. Welcome. And I will pass it to Latavia.
So, hi, everyone. As Tamika said earlier, I am Miss Wheelchair America 2026. But not only am I that, I am also a licensed speech language pathologist in the state of New York and Maine, an adjunct professor at Lehman College, a certified lead advocate for the Amputee Coalition, and I have my own podcast called Queens on a Roll. I've been practicing now with speech and language services for 9 years. I absolutely love what I do. But what reproductive justice means to me is having the freedom, access, and respect to make decisions about my body and future. And as a Black woman with a disability, I know how biases and barriers deny us that right. In my work as Miss Wheelchair America and as a speech language pathologist, it's about educating and empowering women and young girls, especially those who are ably different, to make sure they have the visibility, the confidence, and the resources to make choices that honor their health and their lives. So that is truly, truly important to me because oftentimes I feel like, especially within the ably different community, we can often be dismissed and pushed to the side, and we have to try 10 times harder for our voices to be heard, which, don't get me started, but that's not true inclusion, as we know. And so it's all about moving towards a more inclusive future for me, and this is a cause that's near and dear to my heart as well.
Wonderful. Thank you all for sharing. I'm giving snaps all the way around. I feel empowered just from hearing the introductions. Yes, it's going to be good. So thank you all for sharing your stories. And the next question that we have for you is, what barriers do Black women with physical disabilities face in accessing reproductive health care, including cervical cancer screening? And you can share from your own experiences, whatever resonates or comes up for you. And I'll pass it to Dr. Kimberly. Ready.
I don't know why that just the rooms are not accessible at all. They're just not accessible. And you're in a chair, and for me, without having to go into big explanation, I have a lot of spasticity and tone. And when my body is moved too quickly, the wrong way, it goes spastic. I don't know if anyone here who's in a chair who knows about that spasticity and tone. And it looks like you're having a grand mal seizure or you're having a stroke. That's what it looks like. And so my first PAP and cervical trance, take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. My first exam, my body went spastic, trying to get on the table and then to try to get in the stirrups. They couldn't do it. Then it's like, okay, well, they got all these people to come in the room. They went and got straps and strapped me as if I were a mental patient having, a moment and needed to be strapped down. And then they went and got one of those boards to put in my mouth, like a tongue depressor, so that I didn't bite my tongue. Here I am strapped down, got the tongue depressor in, and then they strapped my legs to the stirrups, went to put in the speculum, and my body just snapped on it. They're trying to get it out. My body is still flailing from spasticity. And I'm trying to tell them I needed to get off the table. I needed to get off the table. Couldn't talk. Just horrible. When it was all said and done, they told me, never come back again. Just don't ever come back. Who's going to have sex with you anyway? You don't have to even worry about it. So just don't come back. The person that brought me was someone who was in the VA community, and that was part of their, job, was to be able to transport veterans to appointments. And they took me out of that room and they took me over to emergent care and put me in this bed and put pads all around the bed and went to strap me. And then someone says, no, I don't think we can strap her, but we'll just put a lot of padding. So they put me in this padded bed. My mind is like padded bed, padded cell. Okay. And locked the bed and put it up against the wall. And then put another, one of those portable tables with instruments on it, and put that next to it to shore it up so that if I started having a spastic attack again, that I couldn't move and it wouldn't move the bed. Within a week's time, they sent out a memo throughout all of West Michigan that no one is to be transported, especially females, to appointments anymore. Can't be done. To this day, they cannot transport because of that situation and because of me. I felt bad because people never know, the impetus of anything that happens. But to know that I cost, hundreds of veterans the ability to get a ride to their appointments cut me to my heart. So now I had them to lose out. So in many ways, doing the mobility grant challenge and the VA community being able to they got $1 million in grant money to be able to help provide transportation. So I felt like that was, retribution, but it was nearly not enough, and certainly wasn't soon enough for all of the veterans who did not get transportation. To this day, there's still not an accessible table. And now that they've changed the regulation on how often a woman should get a screening, then they feel justified in not making those changes. But I disagree, because if I'm going 3 years, something could have started growing from my last appointment, and now it's 3 years. I have an appointment and they tell me I'm stage 4, and you're giving me less than 90 days to live. If I had testing and you're saying, okay, I don't have to physically come in, then at least I can personally test myself every year. Or if I'm at higher risk of getting, cervical cancer, then I can do it every 6 months. So the need is there. And it's a justifiable need, especially for women who are in wheelchairs, that it is difficult, to have to be removed out of that chair. And now I love it. The chair that I have, I can actually do a PAP from that chair, the way it's designed. So, who am I passing it to? Well, I guess back to you, Dr. Brandy.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kimberly, for sharing. I think that's why conversations like this is so important. when I just generally ask people about cervical cancer screening, getting a pap smear done is not a comfortable situation for anybody, right? Like people's first reaction is that it's uncomfortable. I hate it. Whatever they have to do to go and be done. And it doesn't have a positive connotation around it. Like I don't know anybody who would be like, "Oh yeah, I am excited for this. Let's go." And so I think adding in those layers and understanding different experiences and how the healthcare system as a system failed, right? At so many intersecting points, there was opportunity to be better, to show up. And there was just failure after failure after failure. And so I just thank you in sharing that story because it was incredibly traumatic as a listener, like listening to that. And I don't know how it resonated with you, but just listening to it, like there should have been something else that was done, right? There should have been an alternative. And so I think being in this space and having these conversations about what barriers look like is so important because it's not just accessibility, right? Like now this is a mental barrier, physical barriers, emotional barriers, spiritual barriers to just being able to get care. And we associate healthcare because in the name healthcare, I want people to care, right? That is their job, their role is to be in that caring position. And when that fails, it has lasting scars. It's not just about being able to screen. There's other things that we need public exams for, right? It's not just pap smears that require us to be on the table and the use of a speculum. And so it's thinking about the broad implications of that to our health and well-being because it has a lasting impact. So I just want to thank you for your vulnerability and sharing to raise awareness about your experience. I really appreciate that.
No, I figure I could go next after Miss
Yes.
Lovely, Dr. Kimberly, and I just wanted to say thank you to Dr. Kimberly for even sharing that that was what her experience was like. Because for a person like me that's disabled, we're not all disabled alike, and like I had no idea that that's what could happen, you know, for a person that's coming out of a wheelchair to even be on the table for an exam. And at Mother Injustice, we always say you are an expert based off your lived experience. And the power in storytelling is real because who's going to know that that's your experience if you never share it and we never hear it? So, again, just thank you so much. And just when I hear different people's stories, I'm all like, wow. And I'm just amazed at the different things that we've gone through and what makes us warriors. And just like you said, what are some of the barriers that we face? Accessibility, boom. The next thing she already mentioned, transportation. What does it look like to even get to these appointments if you're disabled? For me, like I couldn't use my right leg to drive, so it was a person taking me to that appointment. And then being a person that has a chronic illness of lupus, I have a history that's already listed there of dealing with pain and anxiety. So when I'm on this table with the OBGYN and I'm talking about some pain, they're like, oh, well, you know, maybe you need to figure out relaxation methods. And then it was hurting real bad. The doctor tells me it's because I have a hidden cervix and they're having to maneuver. You're supposed to know how to maneuver the supplies to be able to do the pap smear. And they just could not and told me I need to come back and reschedule with some medication that calms my nerves a little bit more to be able to do this exam. So we're already dealing with not being heard depending on what your listed issues are in their system that they already see you coming. But to even deal with the barriers of just getting there and then simply like in Dr. Kimberly's situation, it's just having a person there that cares. Where's my knight in shining armor to come in this room and show some sympathy, some care of what my situation as a whole is.
Oh, I got one of those now.
Yeah, you know, it's
What?
yeah. So where if you have that, it's amazing, and no one should have to uh have the healthcare lottery winning ticket to be
Oh my
like
God.
every,
Yeah.
and then you wait to go to that person. They probably got a year-long list of a wait list to have new patients come to them because you try to switch your care providers to go to one that is accessible for you. So then that's another barrier, finding people who are even a close vicinity where you live at. We will it's so many different barriers, but I just wanted to add those 2 cents there. And
That was a quarter, girl. That was a quarter.
I'll pass it back to you, Dr. Randy.
Thank you, Christina. And it's so much value added when we think about the barriers that you speak to, like paid time off. If you have an appointment and they can't perform the service and they tell you to come back, that's more time that I have to request, more access to transportation. Nobody's thinking about that. They're like, oh yeah, just go on the portal and schedule an appointment. I have to restructure my whole life. I'm here at this appointment. Be done. And so thank you for elevating that. Would anyone else like to share for this question?
I would say for me, the barriers are definitely inaccessibility. But not only is it inaccessibility, I would say it's systemic in that it could be insurance too, right? Depending on how frequently you need it, or if there's a history, they might deny it, depending on. And so for me, I'm not yet at the age of doing mammograms, but I do have some family history of breast cancer. So for me, the inaccessibility piece, like now when I go to the gynecologist, I cannot go without having someone go with me because I have cerebral palsy spastic quadriplegia. So my whole body is tight all the time, 24/7. And so to try to spread your legs up there on that
Yes.
speculum is like a whole ordeal in itself. And my legs are like, Miss, we don't do this every single day, all right? And
Mhm.
this is just too wide. And so the tone kicks in, and then they're over there telling you to relax. And you're like, listen, I'm tight every day, all day. This is as relaxed as it's going to get. So hurry up, do what you got to do, and let's get it going because I can't help you. But to have to always try to take someone with me because I need someone to help me transfer onto the table. And then it's the lack of awareness too about ably different people in our community and the different diagnoses and the disorders. The lack of education is startling as well because sometimes you'll get the doctors to be like, well, I've never had to treat a patient with CP. I don't
Yeah,
even know what it looks like.
yeah.
And you're like, what? Do they not teach this in medical school? Like when
Mm.
I had to go to school for speech therapy, we learned about all the different disorders and what you can encounter. You don't go through that? And they're like, not really. We take a course or two, but that's it. And so for me, the scary part for me is when it comes time for mammograms. They don't have any accessible mammograms. So even right now, with what I have going on in my breast, they're like, oh, we're just going to have to keep doing ultrasounds because we can't test you. But when I become of age for mammograms, what you going to do? There's no answer for me. And so for me, that's the scary part. Not having an answer, especially when I have family history. I know that I need to be vigilant about this, but there isn't any technology out there that could potentially help me when that time comes. And so it's scary. It's scary because we already have enough challenges as it is, but then to not have good access to quality healthcare when you know you're gonna need it
Mhm.
is it's just scary.
I appreciate you sharing that story. I really do. I just went through that. I have a math, and I think I may have sent it to you already, but I created this little thing, my little meme about make sure that you get checked. But I think they fired her, if the truth be told, that I found a lump just in February. And when they checked it, they found a mass. And the person who did my mammogram, because I have to do it from the wheelchair, they lowered it and we can wheel and get kind of like there, but certain positions, I just don't I have the tone, I can't necessarily do it the way you need to. I can't put my arm up, not that left one, because that my left side, I'm a vertical half a plegic, if you will. So that left side doesn't work the way it needs to kind of read. And she says to me, this is really getting on my nerves. I don't understand why you have to be in this damn chair anyway. You just need to stand up. I said, ma'am, if it could go that way, I would. But here it is. I'm getting tested because it was a special mammogram to check for the cancer, for the mass. And for her to say that, I mean, I'm already on emotional edge. And then you're angry with me because I'm in a wheelchair and you're not trying to work with me. I'm trying to give you what I can with my body where my body will kind of help work with you, and you're going to just not like me and tell me how you hate, honey, you can't hate me being in this chair no more than when I have my days. I hate that I'm in the chair. And so they had just gotten a new radiologist because once I finished the mammogram, they had to do an ultrasound and do a biopsy. And I told them what happened. I just broke down crying by the time I got in there. I said, y'all want me to go back in there and get this done? She said, yeah, we need you to come back in 6 months so we can see if it's growing. I was like, I'm not doing that. Well, the mass that you have is one of the quickest growing group of cells that by the time you come back, it will have overtaken your whole breast. Well, it's just gonna have to do something. I don't know. So I told them how she treated me. She says, oh, she's not gonna do it. You don't have to ever worry about her again. And I haven't seen hide nor hair her since then. So I understand. I
Yeah.
truly.
It's sad when they get fired, but because it's the lack of knowledge, it's the lack of an awareness, but you shouldn't treat patients like that. Like I live in New York, so our mammogram can go down, but you're exactly right, Dr. Kimberly. To do those different positions to get in there to try to figure out that's gonna be impossible for me, and it's gonna be stressful because it's hard for me to move as it is already. You want me to like come in closer, fit this way, and then you got to do that with the chair. It's not like you could do that out of the chair.
You
So it's like,
can't.
this chair is getting in the way. Can you position it this way, and then I could possibly get closer? So it's a lot of trial and error for us as the patient, but I also feel like it's a lot of trial and error for staff as well because they just don't have the knowledge, and so they need more knowledge. We need more accessible equipment. They need more knowledge. We need more accessible equipment. And you need patience. You have to have patience in the process because if you think you're frustrated trying to figure it out, imagine what we're going through in that moment. Like, we're super frustrated because I know sometimes in my head, I'm just like, if I wasn't having a disability right now or in this moment, if this wasn't the body I was in, this exam would be 1, 2, 3, but I can't help it. These are the cards I've been dealt. This is what I got to work with. I've been making it work for myself, but there's moments where it's difficult. And so you adding that extra pressure is just making it even more difficult for me. And you're making me frustrated. And I don't want to go off on you, but your tone, I'm about to match your tone if you don't stop in a second. So I can definitely respect that and understand it because I've had to experience it.
But I had the next technician that they gave me. She said, you tell me, you get into the position that you can get in that's going to be the most comfortable, and then we'll work around that. And that was the piece that I appreciated because they all had the conversation, having the director of the radiology team said, we do have the technology to bring the machine down because at the other places they don't move. You have to stand up and you have to put everything in. And this one, it comes down into your lap in the wheelchair, but it's still positioning, your body. And so to have someone who has the patience to say, all right, I can get the machine in your lap. Now, can you help me to help you? How much can your body do? What will your body do? And even if you have those kind of questions when it comes to your reproductive health, getting on the table, taking the test, getting a speculum in, let's see how much your body can do. And even if it's something like if you have a lot of spasticity and the tone, then can somewhere in there they give you like a baclofen infusion, like when they do the baclofen testing. That's a medication that they can put in your spine, like you're getting a epidural. And if you get like a little bit of that, so it makes your body pliable, even if you did it, say you come in earlier. See, I'm thinking of a solution as we're talking now. So if you are a woman in a wheelchair and you have to get the testing, that they could even just give you a little bit of medication 2 hours before. That will make the body a little bit more flaccid. Then they're able to lift you and put you on the table and be able to do the exam without harm or issue to you and without frustration. Do you have a baclofen pump?
I don't take baclofen. I do take the pills sometimes, but for me, what happens with me is my body gets too loosey goosey, so then I can't maneuver. So it's a delicate balance between being too loose and then being too tight. So I just have to find the balance. But what I've been doing is my mom will come with me, and if because my left side is a little bit more looser than my right. So with spastic CP, even though your body is tight all the time, you
Mm-hmm.
have one stronger side and one weaker side. So the weaker side tends to have more spasticity than the stronger side. So I'll tell her like, I know this leg is gonna kick. If you just hold it and put pressure on it, then I could get through the exam. So sometimes it's just for me that sensory input. I need to know that your hand
Yes.
is there just in case my leg decides to go off. It kind of gives me that barrier. So she'll be there to help me, but I have had the experience where they'll say like, I can't lift you because I don't want any type of liability to go down. And
And
so
that piece right there. So that
yeah,
would really be a question for Brandy as you're doing this research and putting the pieces together. Where does the provider take on some of that liability? Because sometimes I have not gotten care because they don't want the liability, and they
Yeah,
don't they don't have a lift.
yep,
You know, now the VA, all of the rooms are equipped with a lift, or they have rooms that are designated, with lifts in them, and they make sure that if we need to get you out and you're not able to for whatever reason, then we'll put you in a room that has a lift. That I appreciate. But, civilian rooms are not designated like that. So that's
yeah,
yeah,
something, to consider moving forward, that women who have physical disabilities that need the cervical screening, that are they eligible? Can we give them a little bit of baclofen
yeah.
and to make the body a little bit more pliable to get in and out? Like, Tamika, do you have an issue with getting on and dealing with spasticity or tone?
no, no, yeah. So my spasticity out for those who don't know, I have a spinal cord injury as well. I think that's what you have too, Dr. Kimberly, right? Spinal cord.
No, I actually had a stroke, but I do have now. I have some spinal cord issues that we're
Okay.
working through right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So with me, I don't have spasticity, but uh, my because of I've been paralyzed since I was a baby. So as you grow, that sometimes is a little different. Your body's a little different because it grow like as you're in a wheelchair. So my leg, like one leg is maybe a little bit taller than the other. So and then the hip is a little rotated. Due to being in a wheelchair since birth, pretty much. So so that's the problem, that the issue they have is spreading the legs far enough and then having it stay there because I can't control move my legs and tell it to hold still. So yeah, I do need assistance. But that actually goes into the question that we wanted to discuss with you all is, and we already started talking about it, but what are some of the solutions? I know we heard the baclofen, give a little bit of that, to people, having someone assist you with does, the liability of the doctor. So I would like to hear from Kiana. What would you say, based on your own experience and your research? What are some of the solutions?
Yeah, so when I think about innovation, I don't know if I could think about something concrete, but I think like beyond technology, I feel like it's about like redesigning systems that actually work for all people and like prioritizing the comfort and accessibility of screenings and procedures from women with like physical disabilities and disabilities in general. I think that would be a significant step in like the right direction. And like real innovation like also means changing the systems around care, making clinics physically accessible, and like training providers to recognize their biases. That's something that I personally like struggle. That's like a really big barrier for me. Especially like in terms of like the gynecologist, like my former gynecologist, she would just be like, well, you're young. I have a lot of chronic pain conditions. So she'd be like, well, do this, move here, move that. And I'm like, I'm in pain and I have like a bunch of like musculoskeletal issues, and just like not, I guess, like believing my lived experience or just like shrugging it off. So I think like also involving disabled Black women and shaping the research and like policies that affect us. It's not just about like new devices, it's about like creating care that's dignified, affirming, and centered on our lived experiences.
And how would you do that though? I mean, what do you think needs to happen?
Yeah, I think I'm a big policy person. So at the Center for Racial and Disability Justice, I've been working on some policy briefs. Like earlier in the year, I wrote one on confronting racism and ableism in obstetric care and centering on obstetric care in maternity care deserts. And so just like advocating in that way, and then like having like community conversations like this, making people more aware and sharing lived experiences and centering them, I think is a start.
So do you have a state rep that you work with or a lobbyist to say, hey, these are the following things that need to be changed? So you're saying you're writing policies, and who gets those policies?
Yeah, so they're on the website. I can share the website with CRDJ. And I think like different researchers check it out. And earlier in the year, they were like at the White House, I believe, but I don't know what's going on right now, but I can get more information about that after.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'm
If they,
sorry. You know what? I'm acting like a question.
Dr. Barrington, we gotta have your questions answered tomorrow. So
Oh my God. I
there will
apologize.
be a part
I went
two.
right into host mode. You know, I'm like, so really? Like, what?
It's okay. It's okay. There
I
will be for all of you.
apologize.
No, there will be a part two. A look for with a few of us tomorrow. But yeah, this is great. All these types of innovations, and I know I'm kind of put you on the spot, Tamika, but I know we discussed. Um, was it when we did our run of show like a couple days ago, and you're talking about fibroids, and so
Oh,
that
yeah.
is another thing that a lot of Black women go through. So if you can share a little bit about what you were saying about fibroids, and also what are some solutions that we can advocate for as Black women.
Well, mostly what I know about fibroids is on like a personal level. But I've had a lot of experiences because I do a lot of community work and talking with women, especially when it comes to like reproductive care. And so the amount of Black women, and I haven't gone into the research, that I have found that typically have fibroids either before or after pregnancy. I'm someone who developed them after pregnancy. Um, but there isn't really a lot of care that is really provided, in my opinion. I feel like it's more of a like watch and observe kind of thing for Black women. They're always like, oh, well, we found some fibroids or we found some cysts. There's a lot of delay with like how to proceed with it, how to care for it. It's kind of like, for me, it was like, well, they'll probably go away type thing. I mean, I've had a friend who had fibroids for most of her adult life, who eventually in the last few years had to get about 26 pounds of it removed.
Mm.
So it doesn't seem like something that is being taken very seriously in the clinical setting, and I think that it's something that needs to be highlighted more and talked about, and maybe even through a storytelling lens, because like you were saying, um, those lived experiences, they can turn into clear demands. Like, this is how you transform it to policy and turn it into something. But it's definitely a broader conversation that we definitely need to have on a community level and get more of those stories, because I don't think there's enough light on the lack of care or the delay in care when it comes to addressing a lot of cervical issues, especially for Black women and things that are prominent in us, because the causes are also not very heavily researched, right? Some of it can be from diet and nutrition. Some of it could be from other things that we're coming in contact. We talk about environmental issue. Like it's a lot that goes into play when it comes to talking about fibroids. So yeah, I would love to be a part of that if you guys want to dive deeper. Dr. Brandy, if you want to start some research behind that, I would love to be a part of that, because yes, that is something that isn't talked about, and it leads to miscarriages, complications during during pregnancy and delivery, and then the issues that you can have later. We talk about post-birth hemorrhage, how that's one of the leading causes of death with Black women after delivery. So these are all things that could be components that fall into that, and I think that there needs to be a lot more education and study done behind fibroids.
Yes, Christina.
And then just when we're talking about solutions to problems, and like she was saying, the policy work and things, like I'm not sure if it could be a policy made up for people who are coming for such tests that are known for being disabled via wheelchair. Like maybe they have to add on more staff members for
Yes.
assistance. Like there
Yes.
can be a bill specifically made, and I've done work where we talk line by line with bill drafters, y'all. Like, okay, like working with Mother Injustice, I have learned how a bill is created. You go line by line and saying specifically what needs to be put in this policy, and you make it plain and clear, and this is what we want passed. You get your elected official to stand on it, introduce it, and you go through the whole process. Because a lot nowadays, our work at Mother Injustice is to educate folks on how bills are passed, who you need to be, who you're supposed to talk to make it happen. So elevating our voices this way. And then I do a lot of patient doctor relationship forums with my rheumatologist at the U of M, at the University of Michigan. She's the lead person over the medical students, and we talk directly to the medical students, like a panel of lupus warriors, and we talk about what it's like, or why medical compliancy is not a thing, because the patient doctor relationship isn't there. Why are you gonna think I'm taking some medicine if I don't trust my own doctor? So we talk about the importance of the patient to doctor. So it's important for these doctors to know way ahead, like even in medical school, what you all are facing, so they're prepared, like you said, when they're doctors. Like, hey, did you not have this training in medical school? Did nobody ever tell you about what's going to happen when you're dealing with the person? Some of them, maybe they have not. So we gonna be at that education, and we can tell these doctors, hey, put us on the panel to talk directly with your students, with your other medical professionals, because they need to hear this, and then maybe they can even help come up with an invention that will make things more um accessible for us. But then my other concern is when we're talking about this accessibility, or what can even assist you all, with making the pap smears more easier. I know it would then turn out being more time. Like if you need a shot or something 2 hours before your appointment even begins, like is that becoming a barrier? Or accessibility becoming a barrier for? So it's like a snowfall of things you have to look at, but definitely all of our ideas and coming together, there is a solution. There are solutions we can work on together. And my head is just turning, just listening
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
So
if I could
good
just jump
start.
in here for a second. For me, I think the starting point is the ADA doesn't go far enough anymore. It's
No.
the bare minimum of what we need. And so for me, the focus is not even the focus, but it's starting to educate people like we're now in the 21st century. Technology has upgraded to I don't know what, right? And so why aren't we using these tools and putting them in our facilities? Why are we still dealing with the bare minimum? Oh, your door's got to be like 36 inches wide. Because, come on, a lot of us face the thing where we can get inside, right? But you can't use the facility. It's all about being able to use the facility as well. So I think we're so far behind where we should be when it comes to the ADA. And unfortunately, you do have to put policies in place for
Yeah,
people to actually pay attention and to really do something about it, because if you just leave it up to just people wanting to do a good deed, unfortunately they're not going to do it. And so yes, we do need policies in place to make sure that there is equal access. But for me, I think the biggest thing for me is that the ADA doesn't go far enough anymore. And so you see states making up for that, but it still needs to be a level of awareness, because even when you're talking to these legislators, which I've been doing a lot of legislative work around durable medical equipment, because here, at least in New York, and it's becoming a national problem, it's hard to get wheelchair equipment. It's taking longer wait times for repairs. So that's also a barrier to getting to your appointment. If your equipment isn't working or you can't get your equipment, there's no way you can go to the doctors. And so we're losing that as well. But when you talk to these legislators, they literally have no idea what your life is like sitting in a chair. They have absolutely no idea. And so when you bring up these barriers, it's like, really? That's really what it's like? Oh my God, I never thought that that was a thing. And so I always say, you need us not even just sitting at the table, but you need us leading from the table, because who
absolutely.
else can tell you about ably differences that we have going on but us with our lived experiences? Nobody else can do it for us but us. And so you need us leading at the table to tell you, like, hey, you need to tweak this a bit. Because what happens is, when we make it accessible for us, you're actually helping other people out in the long run. Helping us actually helps everyone, right? And so I think people forget that. And then people also forget that the disabled community or ably different community is a community that you can belong to at any point in time in your lives. So to
Absolutely.
continuously dismiss us or push us to the side or not put us in conversations, you're doing a disservice to yourself, maybe down in the long run. And so I'm glad we're having this conversation, because it just brings more awareness to a broader issue as well within our systems, that systemic change needs to happen. We need to move that forward in order for us to really be able to live inclusively and live full lives.
Yes, 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 yes. Just want to share some of the comments before we get to the last question. We have kind of like our internal chat going on. So yeah, Tamika's just saying, ADA gets you to the door, but equity will let you use the room. I really like that.
I
That's
like that.
yes, God, that should be a
I'm like,
saying. You know. Yes, yes, yes. And Dr.
We
King.
opened the door for it though. I have never heard it like explained in that way about how you can get into the facility, but you can't use the facility. And like, man, that's a big deal. Like, and it
Yeah.
just got me thinking. So I'm like, this is where it would go from story to policy. Yes.
Yes, yes,
To go
yes.
further.
Yes, yes, yes. And we all agree. And then just some things are in the chat. Deidre D. Williamson said, as a walking quad, injured in 1996 at 15 years old, now 45. She had her first mammogram in 2023 at 43 years old out of fear, Trace and family. And she was just saying that it was difficult, for her due to, the stamina and the balance. And, it took 5 appointments and 3 letters to get an accurate reading. And
wow.
and that's horrible because, if you have especially have a history and tumors can grow fast and that's can be very detrimental. Antoinette Marie James said, that she appreciates, each of our stories. So thank you. And to that, so I give it to Brandy to ask the last question.
So with our last few minutes, we wanted you all to have space to share which we've done a little bit throughout. But if there are other topics that you want to see researchers explore that center reproductive disability and racial justice.
I would like for it to be investigated within the healthcare system, the treatment of women of color, period, just all around healthcare service, because we have to advocate for ourselves on so many other levels, and it shouldn't have to be that way in the healthcare field. And I find myself repeatedly over and over and over again having to advocate just for a doctor to listen to me and hear me and know that what I'm going through is a real thing. So I would love for it to just be investigated as a whole. And the way that they treat us, like, are we the drug addicts just coming in needing drugs when we're in chronic pain? Like, that's been a real heavy issue that I face outside of all these other things that I deal with in healthcare.
I was going to say the same thing, like how pain is perceived and treated in Black women, especially Black disabled women. Like, how does racism and ableism show up in clinical settings? Um, I think it would be really great if we could have some more people looking at that and what are the consequences of racism and ableism. And I could think of one, it's like leading to misdiagnoses or just like not being diagnosed on time, and then by the time you're diagnosed, there's just so much damage that has been done.
I'd like to name something that I noticed too, even with getting here. I gained a lot of weight when I was pregnant. And then not long after I had him, I had a really nasty fall, like where I had to call an ambulance. Like I couldn't walk. I needed crutches. And I needed the leg brace to get out because I literally couldn't, I had to go to physical therapy to be able to walk. And, but when I was still in the emergency room, after I got the x-rays, then like, well, you didn't break anything and stuff. I've not broken both of my legs before. So it was, it's an old injury that's being, re-injured. So, and they didn't even have a brace that could fit my leg. Which is essentially what I needed. Like it was hard to sit, it was hard to stand, and I needed something that could keep my knee because I had like really twisted my knee together, and they didn't even have in the emergency room. Like, and I was, I'm in the twos, but I'm just saying, like, we come in different sizes too. So I think that needs to be named as far as like, being able to get care, like people that can lift you. Even when the mistake was made when I had Cree and she put the epidural in the wrong part of my spine, it shut me down from the waist up. So I couldn't hold myself up and I was heavy. So as I'm, dying and I'm losing the ability to hold myself up, one of the nurses that was holding me was like, I can't hold her anymore. And she dropped me on the bed while I was suffocating. And so, I mean, just being equipped and fit just for different body sizes too, especially like being big and then being helpless. I wasn't prepared for somebody else to need somebody else to lift me. And so I don't think that that's something that's highlighted enough either.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, what is it, different experiences when you are ably different with pregnancy, but also you brought up a good point. What are the what's the knowledge that doctors have, or different technicians about people who are ably different? I know that I speak to graduate medical students about, listen, when you do come across someone who's ably different, these are the things you should do. Speak directly to them. Don't speak to the caregiver that's next to them, right? But how much knowledge do they get in the classroom about people who are ably different, or different techniques, different innovations to try when you do come across someone who's ably different? I would like that to be studied, because then we know there's a lack of awareness, right? That needs to be taught in the classroom as well.
Well, for me, I just experienced this last week. is the narrative that doctors are allowed to create and put in your record without you having the opportunity to say something about it. Many people don't know that you do have the right to go and get your medical records, review what's being written about you, and whatever's there, if it's not congruent or it's not telling your story, that you should have the right to be able to put in some sort of addendum. But, and I don't even know that it's research, more so having the conversation with the providers, at the educational level before they even get to be providers, when they're coming in and saying, hey, we got a student here. Do you mind if they sit in on your appointment? And I use that time. I said, yep. I said, do you know how much? I said, it is for me. I said, I charge $1,500 an hour for what I do. So you're gonna have to pay a portion of that if you want some of my time and what I have to give. And so everybody laughs. I said, oh no, I'm y'all laughing, but I'm serious. And I said, because you want to learn, I said, I'm going to teach you. And I tell them at least 3 things that they need to know in order to move forward, or as they matriculate through the process of, completing their education to become a doctor, that this is the time that you need to know how you need to deal with patients. So instead of us having to change somebody who's already old and in the game, is there a possibility that, we could come during the time of when they're having education, when they're having classes, and they get to hear our stories. So it helps them to become a better doctor, and it helps them to write a better narrative about who we are. Because when I've read, now I've had some pretty decent ones, because I know how to act when I go to the doctor sometimes, most of the time. But now that, we all have access to our charts, have you ever gone and looked at your chart to see what they say about you? And then to be able to refute anything that you don't find um, that's kind about you. I think you said, Christina, about drug seeking. I think that's a big one. Those people who live with, chronic pain, if the doctors could offer some maybe holistic solutions instead of saying, okay, well, take a pill. Because if you start me out on a pill, then what am I supposed to do? If you just snatch it away, then my body goes through withdrawal. But just thinking about things like that, let's think things through.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, thank you, thank you. And I know we're like 3 minutes till the end of our discussion today, but I wanted to ask one quick question because this is a really great question that is in the comments of our Divas in the City TV YouTube page. And this is from Antoinette. Um, that she um, that she said that she wanted to inquire about women in prison who have disproportionately high cervical cancer rates compared to the general uh, population. And then she went on to give just talking about her cousin who was 40 and 45 was diagnosed with cervical cancer while in prison. And, and those things that happened to her, she was treated with radiation and chemo and released, told it was cured, only to return upon the release a year later, and it spread to her colon. And unfortunately, she passed away in July 4th of 2014. So I guess this might be more so of a question to Kiana and Dr. Bentley. Do you know any research when it comes to women in prison, and how does those things?
I know that people who are incarcerated are disproportionately affected. And I'm applying to law school this cycle, and that's one of the things I want to do with my career. is advocating for people who are incarcerated with chronic illnesses and disabilities. So I'm going to be doing that work in the future.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to offer on the topic. I think definitely keeping it in mind as we consider future research topics, and with Kianda's work, that being a core there too. So I'm happy to hear that folks are thinking about folks who are incarcerated and their health experiences as well, because that's a really important group.
Yes, yes, definitely underrepresented as we talk about those things. So it's 7:28. So just real quickly, if all the panelists can share, and Tamika as well, where people can find you for if they want more information or have questions or any of those things. Uh, Kiana, where can people find you?
You can find me at crdjjustice.org. Well, crdjustice.org.
Okay. And Christina?
And then I am Christina at motheringjustice.org, as well as Tamika is her name at motheringjustice.org. So Christina at motheringjustice.org and Tamika, Tamika at motheringjustice.org. And check out our website, www.motheringjustice.org/events to find out about all of our events.
And I want to add, we're having an open house this Thursday from 6 to 8. So you can come check us out at our new location, get to know some of the people and some of the work that we're doing. We want to start welcoming folks in the community back into our space now that we have more of an accessible space. And I definitely want to hear back about what you think about that, and making sure that we're going far enough with our ADA compliancy as well. But yes, I think it's going to be a really great time. And I think it'll be a great opportunity to dive in deeper with Mothering Justice.
Yes. Latavia?
You can find me at Latavia _ Miss Wheelchair America. That's my Instagram. But you can also email Latavia at misswheelchairamerica.org. I answer that all the time. I'm plugged into social media all the time. So if you have a question, you just reach me there.
And Dr. Kimberly?
Oh Lord, I'm next. Well,
Yes.
I'm at my name, Dr. Kimberly Yvonne Barrington, on Facebook. Let's see, let me.
You have too many Facebook friends, Dr. Kimberly, and it won't let you add anymore because I tried
Oh, did you?
it.
Found her on Instagram. You might have to go to Instagram route.
Okay, I'm gonna go the Instagram route. So can you give me the Instagram route?
Dr. Kim Barrington at Instagram.
Okay, I'm gonna try that one.
Yeah, I didn't realize I was at 15. I mean, 5. The other thing, you can follow, like, share, subscribe. Let's see. We'll click here. And I do have the flyer for tomorrow. Click present, share image.
Okay,
Boom.
sure. Yes, so we will be Brandy and I will be on uh, Dr. Barrington's show tomorrow, following up with the discussion. So uh, it's going to be 4 o'clock again tomorrow, um, October 8th, 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on her show, Rolling on the Road. And I'll make sure to post that on Divas in the City TV social media pages so you'll be able to tune in for that.
And then everybody else, I'm just gonna snag your picture off of the flyer, and then everybody will come on the rest of the week based off your availability, and we'll talk, more in depth about your story and what's going on. So we're just gonna keep on going down the line, because this was good. I got more questions to ask folks and more stuff to talk about. More stuff to talk
Yes,
about.
yes, yes. Tomorrow.
I'm excited to get to talk to y'all more too. Hi, you lovely ladies.
Yes, yes. Hey, Brandy, where can people find you? Or if there's anything else that you really wanted to share?
Yes, you all can find me on the University of Michigan website. It's just my name. If you Google Dr. Brandy Bentley, it'll come up. And I also have a very exciting announcement that, in addition to our continued conversation this week, there's also meaningful action to accompany today's conversation. So, we have a new research study that is in the final stages of IRB approval with the university and will be launching soon. And it gives us a space to explore the intersection of reproductive health, disability, and racial justice. We can't share the full details until we have all of our ethical board approval. But just stay tuned and we will be sharing more about that very soon. And we have everyone's email and contact information. So we have a way to connect with you afterwards. And we can share all of our information through that avenue as well. So just a huge heartfelt thank you. This was an amazing conversation, and I'm happy that it doesn't end today. We're excited to stay connected with each other and with all of you who have joined us online. And we thank you for spending your evening with us.
Yes, yes. And again, thank you. And you can find me, Tamika Citrus Spruce. I'm on LinkedIn and also on Facebook mostly. And then please, if you like these type of discussions, please like and subscribe to Divas in the City TV on YouTube, and then also make sure to follow us on Facebook and all of our partners that is here today as well. I'll make sure to put in all the links in the YouTube comments and to those who have registered for the event today. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.